Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Monster Friday is time, and guys, we're talking about the great one himself, John Carpenter, Assault on Precinct 13. What's going on, man? What's going on?
Not much. Not
Not
much.
much.
All right. All right. I mean, this is going to be an interesting conversation because this is a movie that, when people talk about John Carpenter movies, if they're big fans of John Carpenter movies like we are, and especially myself, they don't really talk about Assault on Precinct 13 too much. This is one of his earliest films. I think it was really his second director um, film, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not really including Dark Star in that. Dark Star was kind of, it is what it is. But anyways, this was a big one, so I thought it'd be great to talk about it. Let's see who we have in the chat, and then we'll get going with the intro and get going on this thing, man. We got David. David's in the chat. There are no heroes anymore, only those who follow orders. That was a great line in the beginning of the movie. I really did love that line, man. The Stendhal Syndrome saying, was there supposed to be a stream about physical media? I thought I saw the preview reminder earlier. We were going to do that. We had some scheduling stuff, so hopefully we'll be able to redo that stream. Maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure, but hopefully. Neon Black Reviews. Neil's in the chat saying, I wanted vanilla twist.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's the best kind of vanilla twist.
Right?
Is it worth the cost?
No.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Exactly.
No.
We got Gore. Gore's in the chat too. We got Strange Monkey. He's in the chat. Miss Carter saying, hey, Night, Coriander and Kill. What's going on?
Hey.
What's going on? We got DMC in the chat.
Hey.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey.
Dan's in the chat too saying, what's up, guys? I made my buddies watch this in high school. We were shocked at the
Nice.
kid getting. We'll get to that, Dan.
Right?
In case someone hasn't
Cold-blooded.
seen it, it was cold-blooded.
Yeah. Yeah,
What's
it
up,
was.
Sean? It was rough, man. All right, now real quick before we get going on the intro, just give me a quick blurb about what you think about this movie. I'll start with you, Kill, and then Coriander.
Look, just don't go outside. Don't go to the windows. And don't try to get to the
Alright.
car. Don't try to get to the car, especially.
All right. What about you, Coriander?
I like how this is a horror movie, right? But when you're watching it, it actually doesn't, feel like a horror movie. But
Yeah.
just the whole
Well,
scenario of this movie is, it's horrific. So
Yeah,
it's an
it's like
awesome
an
movie.
action thriller with horror vibes,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Stendhal Syndrome saying, no worries, man. Anything you guys do is a-okay. Hey, thanks so much. That's very cool. We appreciate that. Some folks, they're not as understanding. They'll say, well, why didn't you guys do it? There's always a reason, or at least on this channel, there's always a reason. So, but anyways, we're going to get finished getting set up for a quick second. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. You know what time it is.
That's right.
My boy, dropping knowledge. Napoleon.
Napoleon.
He's a great character.
Oh man,
Yeah.
he was so awesome. Rest in peace.
He's
to
and,
David
and don't forget
Valenbosky.
he's also fancy. You
Right?
fancy Napoleon.
He is, man. He is. Ginger
Oh,
Ninja's in
man.
the chat too. What's going on? What's going on?
Hello.
Wayne's in the chat. Hi and bye. Phone still charging. Okay. All right, man. DMC saying, I thought it was great that they made the gang attacking the police station actually intelligent than your typical mindless street thugs using silencer weapons so not to draw attention. Yeah, and also pulling away the bodies, man. It was some
Yep.
Exactly.
some
Cleaning
really
the
cool
scene up.
tactics. Yeah,
Moving the
man.
cars.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start this thing off, Kill. What are we thinking when this movie begins? First thing I'm thinking, I don't know if you're gonna say this, but right off the bat, the music kicks on and it just pulls me in. What are you thinking when you first started watching this movie?
Well, like I mentioned to you earlier, I just have to reiterate it. Yeah, I love the opening kind of sequence. Los Angeles, the ghetto. And it's like, okay, All right, very descriptive, guys. Let's see what's going on here. And you have a gang. They
Mhm.
ultimately get killed by the police. They
Yeah,
didn't put
they
their
do.
weapons down, and they got
Mhm.
aced out with the quickness. So it's like,
Yeah, they
okay.
did.
And I'm just like, okay, this is how we're starting, like,
Mhm.
murder just off the bat.
Yeah, man.
So I kind of had an idea, like, okay, there's gonna be ramifications right here for these gang members getting killed by the police.
Mhm.
There's also obviously a reason for it and so forth. And they kind of one thing with this movie, the pacing is breakneck,
Yeah.
and you kind of
Yeah.
find out that there's missing weapons,
Mhm.
and they're in the ghetto, per se, and we're off to the races, before other events happen that will culminate everything here. So it literally
Mhm.
started off with a bang.
Ha 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 ha
Oh
ha.
man.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right,
be here all
Coriander.
weekend.
Yeah, you will. Alone. No, I'm just joking. So what do you got, Coriander? What were you thinking? Especially once we meet Lieutenant Ethan Bishop, played by the great
Yeah, I
Austin
mean,
Stoker.
yeah. I mean, this poor guy's thinking he's going in, doing
Mm-hmm.
his normal routine, and his boss is like, "Oh, hell no, we're gonna send you
Mm-hmm.
here instead." And
Mm-hmm.
damn, it's like of all the places to be sent on this day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the guy because, like me, this is only the second time seeing it. So the
Mm-hmm.
first time you don't think anything of it, because you're
Right.
like, okay, nothing's gonna happen, but whew, yeah, a lot of shit
Right.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
man, it
does.
really, really does. I mean, to me, it was really cool how in the beginning, other than seeing the gang being shot up by the police, it just started out like a regular day. You're just following this dude, and he's just he's a regular person, and I
Yeah.
think Austin, he portrayed the character of Ethan Bishop so well. He was just
Mm.
like an everyman, and so you're already
Hmm.
invested in him, even when he gets right to the precinct and he's looking outside, he's looking around, and like I said, this movie is very, very good. I mean,
It
and
is.
actually, that's not what I really want to say. It's great. It's actually
Yeah.
a great
And the
film.
music, yeah, the music
Yes.
just
Hmm.
makes it that much, it just everything about this movie is like, this is like a perfect movie if you ask me. There's not many out there, but this one is definitely a perfect one, at
Yeah. I mean,
least in
it's
my
it's
eyes.
yeah, it's lean and mean. And
Yeah.
even at the end of the
Yeah.
movie, like I was saying to Korean, I want to watch this thing again because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like nothing in the movie overstays its welcome. And
Hmm.
although John Carpenter at that point was a young filmmaker, he showed so much maturity. And here's the other thing too, guys. You look at the camera shots, you look at the angles, how everything was framed. I mean, John Carpenter, he wrote this, he directed it, he scored it,
Yeah.
and he
Hmm.
edited this movie. He friggin'
It's
did it all.
perfect.
And it's
Yeah.
just amazing because like I said, this was like his third film. And Dark Star was kind of not a project film, but it look, this was a guy who was just starting out and he showed such ability, at a young age. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. This film, it has a 95% score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's awesome.
Nice.
It's just
It
so
should
awesome.
be like more than that.
Right? But
It's
um
perfect. Come
yeah,
on.
no, it really, really is. Castellar was saying this goes for the surprise factor. It truly, truly does. There's no doubt
Hmm.
about it. David was saying it predates Halloween and Escape. Yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, this was like his third movie, and yeah, I mean, he showed what was to come afterwards. There were a couple things in this movie too that I think he had inspiration for when he did Halloween, and we'll get to that stuff in a little bit. But Kill, let's talk about once he gets to the station, and of course, he meets everyone, and we're introduced to Laurie Zimmer, who's playing Lee, who plays such a pivotal part in this movie. What
Yeah.
did you think about the connection with her? And obviously, we also saw Nancy Loomis, who would obviously be in Carpenter's Halloween and so forth. But what were you thinking of the cast as we start to meet everyone?
Well, I absolutely loved Lee because
Hmm.
she was smart, strong, intelligent, and it was interesting because I haven't seen this movie in a long while.
Hmm.
And when he gets there and he's waiting, she's like, "You do you want coffee?" There's some like little flirting from him. She's like, black. He's like 30 years. Like, okay, I
Hmm.
see what's going on here a little bit. But she just kind of looked at him like, "Come on, let's stay focused here."
Hmm.
Um, but what you get to see is how all of these I guess officers are still operating or barely operating at the station as
Yeah.
it's closing. The telephone lines are coming down, so it's hard to
Hmm.
get a call in or out. They're
Right.
moving boxes everywhere, limited staff, limited weapons on site,
Hmm.
and you just really see how it's really just kind of being gutted out. And it's kind of sad because the precinct is another character of this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
It,
Good
it
point.
really is. And it's like,
Hmm.
wow, this is, what he's walking into. And he did not,
Hmm.
sort of like what Coriander was saying, he didn't expect this for his day. And
Right.
he's just like, all right, so essentially I'm babysitting a station that has like pretty much one more day of
Mhm.
operation. Like, really?
Yep.
That's
Like
what you're utilizing
hours.
me for. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
Hmm.
10 o'clock
literally
in the
hours.
morning. Electricity and everything was like gonna get
Yep.
shut off. So yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but the one thing I could say about Bishop is, like you were saying, he's such an everyman and he's very easygoing that he is going to make the best out of any situation, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like,
He's
all right, hey,
optimistic.
he's very
Yeah.
optimistic and like
Hmm.
he's
Yep.
like, if this is the assignment, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So
Yep, absolutely. And before I get to you, Coriander, also, it's funny because in the beginning of the movie, we follow kind of two paths at first that come
Mhm.
back together. So you've got that going on at the precinct, and Ethan Bishop is there to basically babysit until the power goes out and so forth. But then you have the other scene where you got the warden and you've got Tony Burton, obviously from Rocky fame, old Duke
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
Charles Cyphers, Sheriff Brackett himself from Halloween. And
Yeah.
then who do they meet, Coriander? They meet
Napoleon. Yes.
Napoleon Wilson, played wonderfully.
Right?
What rest in peace to Darwin Jostin. He passed away, I
Yeah.
believe it was like in 98 or 99. But what a character. What were
Right.
you thinking at this point,
He
Coriander?
was. I was enjoying every minute of it. I I absolutely loved all the characters. I
Hmm.
had
Yeah.
like no issue with any of them, you know.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, all this guy wanted was a damn cigarette, you know. So
You got to smoke.
yeah,
I loved it,
yeah,
man.
right. I mean, yeah, they were all they great characters. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I mean, listen, Kill, I don't even know if I told you this. The last time I was down to see Dad, we watched this. I don't know if I told you that or not.
oh, mm,
But he had never seen this,
really?
because
Wow.
I brought the movie and I was like, Dad, let me show you this movie, Assault on Precinct 13. He had never seen it. He loved it. He loved it. He was,
That's
the
awesome.
emotions that we had and stuff. He was loving the movie, and it was so cool to see that. But
Mhm.
you had some funny moments. You've got obviously the stereotypical warden who hates his prisoners, and these are prisoners that are headed to death row. That's the other thing about it too. But I love that scene right here where Napoleon says, "Can I stretch?" And the warden's like, I'm gonna miss you, Wilson. And he's like, no, you won't. He's like, "And you shouldn't lie. You should always tell the truth because you're liable to get tripped up." And he throws the chain around the warden's legs and trips him up. And you know,
He
but it was
deserved it.
it was a callback because earlier the warden had knocked him out of the chair, and Charles Cyphers, who plays Starker, is looking at them kind of like, what's up with that? And all Napoleon said was, I don't sit down as well as I used to." And so when he trips up the warden, he says to him, he's like, he doesn't stand as well as he used to. Just little things like that was just so much fun. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
but on the bus too, Kill, we had some really cool interaction with Starker and with Wilson. And again, these are just little moments, but I think they really built up a lot of that character and coolness for Napoleon Wilson. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, once again, sort of like what I said a little earlier about the pacing here, they don't
Mhm.
take a lot of time to do flashbacks or,
Yes.
there's no fat on the bone.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, it's very lean. They give us just enough that we need to know about, these certain characters, and the inmates and the officers in question and the gangs actually.
Mhm.
And they kind of keep it moving. But any of the scenes where Wilson is like talking, it's always cool.
It
it's
is.
just
It
it's
really
just
is.
always cool because he is so calm.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Bishop is very optimistic,
Mhm.
Wilson is just calm.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
wow, very cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And of course, so everything plays a part in this movie. So in the beginning, when the gang gets shot down, gunned down by the cops, and we hear on the radio that the missing weapons haven't been found and so forth. So of course you had to have that scene, that gang scene where they're sitting around in the living room looking around and they're like, all right, it's
These
time,
guys
time,
crazy.
time to go to war. They start doing the prep for the cholo, cutting their arms and stuff like that. Coriander, when you first saw this, you were like, "What is he doing?" tell me about
Right.
tell me about what you thought about this scene. And then, of course, when the gangs are driving around.
Yeah, it was freaking crazy because
Hmm.
yeah, you see them like all cutting themselves, and it's not like it's a
Yeah.
little scratch. They're going deep, and they're
Right.
putting their
Yeah.
blood in this bowl, and
Yes.
yeah, it's like wow, that was crazy shit. And then
Yep.
yeah, when they're cruising around and
Hmm.
uh I mean, the poor ice cream truck guy, right? He's just doing his job, right? And this
Hmm.
poor little
Hmm.
girl, yeah, it's quite the shocking scene, yeah. And it's crazy because this little girl here was, and I always say it, especially when we're watching. It's like she was in Little House on the Prairie, so I mean, this chick right there, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you felt so bad when she's like she got shot, and and the
Hmm.
guy saw her. He could have chosen not to kill this kid, but he did
Right.
it,
I
and
know he
that
was
tells
such a
you right.
punk.
Yeah, that tells you
Hmm.
there that these guys are fucking, yeah, they're hard asses, and they don't give a fuck about anything. Yeah.
Right? Absolutely, man. And real quick too in the chat, we got Maverick. Maverick's in the chat. What's up, Knight? What's up, Maverick? How you
Right.
doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. David was saying the scene where the gang is driving and loading their gangs, trying to figure out who to shoot out is so amazing. Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
their
Because
point. That's right. That.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and it really it gave you a sense of who they were as
Yeah.
characters. But to get back to
Yeah,
the scene you were referencing, the ice cream man scene, the way that that was shot and filmed by Carpenter, I thought was
man.
so amazing because you really the tension was held the whole time, and you didn't know when the
Yeah.
payoff was going to happen. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they
But
drove
that
past
ice
the ice.
cream, yeah,
Go ahead.
he knew something was up, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he should have just, after he gave the kid that ice cream, he should have just left.
Well, he really should
You know.
have when he first saw them, because he saw them and then drove down the street a little bit more to where she was. He really should have kept driving, but at the same time, maybe he was
Yeah.
thinking that they would follow him. And when they drove past him that
No.
first time, maybe he was just hoping that they would keep going and not worry about him. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This scene was just so well done as far as you just didn't
Yeah.
know what to expect. And of course,
Shock
as we meant
value. Hmm.
yeah, and as we mentioned, when Kim Richard was going back for the ice cream, I look, man, the first time I saw this and the shot happened, I literally could not believe that it happened. I don't think I had ever
Hmm.
seen that in a movie where a child was shot like that, and it was very believable. And again, credit to Kim. Shout out to Kim because just last week, when we were talking about the car, Kim and Kyle Richard, they're both sisters, and of course, Kyle is in Halloween, and obviously many other things since then. But um, Carpenter definitely what I always like about John Carpenter movies too is he uses a lot of the same actors. You know, you'll see them in different movies. But let's move on from their Kill. I mean, well, actually, Kill. Let me ask you too. The scene where she gets shot. I mean, how did that affect you when you first saw it? Because it literally made me gasp out loud when I first saw it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no words can express how it felt to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was shocking, and like you said, you don't normally see that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Kids are normally, even Jason lets the kids live.
Right? Yeah.
So to see that was just like, wow. But I kind of see why Carpenter put that in there to show that
Mhm.
this gang is not messing around. This gang, they are
Yep.
lunatics. They're
Yes.
smart lunatics
Right.
because they
Mhm.
cover their tracks and they use silenced weapons and they,
Yeah.
but they
They're
are
tactical.
insane. Yeah, they're very tactical, but they are insane and they will kill anyone. And
Yeah.
the last thing I'll say is I agree with you. That whole sequence where they're driving around just trying to figure it out who they want to kill. It
Yeah.
was like kids in a candy store. They were just like, I could kill
Mhm.
any of these people I want. And so it
Mhm.
made that scene so much more tense. And it's just like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, what's going to happen? And
Yeah.
hopefully this dad finishes his call on the payphone fast and they get in their
Mhm.
car and keep going. But the unfortunate
Yeah.
thing happens, and
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't. Let's see. Denisha's in the chat too. What's going on, Denisha? How you doing? Nice to
Hello.
hey,
see you. Maverick saying crazy to think this movie initially flopped in America and only survived because it had traction in Europe. Love this flick. That happened with so many of the Carpenter
That,
movies. I
yeah,
mean, other
that's
than
crazy.
Halloween. Well, it's
hmm
true. I mean, if you think about The Thing, Big Trouble, Escape from New York, The Fog, not many of his movies were commercially successful at all, except for Halloween.
Mm.
And it's funny because now to think of these movies, almost all these movies that we talk about, that we mention, they're all thought of as absolute masterpieces or classics in the very least. And it just goes to show you. It really does. Ginger Ninja saying that kid getting shot was brutal and a real mouth drop moment, but it shows that the gang is not to mess with. It's so true.
Nope.
hmm
So true. Yeah, absolutely. But Coriander, let's move forward. That's what this movie is so good. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of the movie yet, really. But
Right?
the bottom line is the bus with the convicts and Charles Cypher's playing Starker, who's transporting them. You have one of them that is sick. So they've got to make a stop
COVID
somewhere.
man,
Well,
right?
yeah, right. Well, they got to make a stop somewhere, and they decide they're going to stop at the precinct. And so, you have a little moment here and there where he's trying to call a doctor and all this. But
Yeah.
bottom line is that this gang is after the father, and the father was chasing the gang, shot the guy that killed his daughter, and then he ran. And of course, he runs to the precinct. So that's where the gang is going to go. Crazy stuff.
Yep.
What did you think, especially when we first see the lights go off and Ethan is looking out of the window? You've got the cop that gets shot right there in front of the precinct. What did you think of this opening action scene?
It was crazy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, you don't know what's going on,
Right.
and you got the guys that were heading back to the bus, and the next thing
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're all getting taken out, and
Mm-hmm.
two of them, Napoleon and what's that other dude's name?
Wells.
Yes,
Wells.
Wells. They're the only ones that like survived out of like how many got off the bus? Like six
Yeah, a
of them or
couple. Yeah,
something.
6.
Yeah,
Yep.
there was a few. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and once the lights went out and that cop went out and that chick was like, "Oh, he's on the ground," and
Mm-hmm.
you get that what the hell was his name there? I can't even think of his
Who?
name.
Ethan?
Yes, Ethan. Okay, I won't forget that. And he goes out and checks and yeah, I mean, they start shooting at him and shit
Yeah,
goes
man.
down. I mean, they start
Real quick.
shooting everywhere through the windows.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they had to take cover because if not, they would have gotten taken out. And you could
Yep.
see, there was like a shitload of them at one point. There was like
Yeah.
50 of them out there, and they
Mm-hmm.
all come
Yeah.
out running and yet going behind the trees. And Yeah, this is a smart gang. They knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Brutal.
Yeah, and now this is starting to happen, but you've got Wells and you've got Napoleon Wilson who are in the cells. And another thing I want to mention too is when they first get there, Napoleon and Wells and Charles Cyphers, before people start getting killed, um, they say, well, this is Napoleon Wilson. And Ethan Bishop says, are you serious? And he has this moment where he walks to the cell and he looks at Napoleon, and Napoleon's just always just cool. He's just like, whatever, whatever. And it was a moment where it was kind of like, wow, this is a real badass guy, and there was respect there. And of course, Napoleon, he's like, you got to smoke? And Ethan says, nope. And he says,
No.
well, if you see one floating around, snag it for me, will you? And then Ethan's like, okay, and it's almost, in a way, it was almost like saying, okay, I respect you, you respect me. At least that's kind of what I got out of it, which plays an important role moving forward. But Kill, at this point, they're just trying to figure out what's going on. They really don't know. And you've got all of these people that are left, whether it's Ethan, Lee, and obviously Julie, and they're looking outside. They don't know what's going on. But Julie says, this all started when this father came here. We should give him to the gang. And Ethan, the hero that he is, he says, no, this guy came to my station for help. He's going to get all the help we can give him. What'd you think about that? And as things start to continue from there, and especially when they have to release Wells and Napoleon.
Well, to me, it just shows Ethan's character. He's an honest cop. He's a good cop, and this man came here. And what I loved is he didn't get a lot of information from the guy because he's still in shock from the death of his daughter. But he's just knows. Okay, yeah, exactly. But he just knows that this guy is in a bad way, and he needs our help, and we're the police. And then you kind of see how Judy. Is it Julie or Judy? Julie, how she's kind of the opposite of Lee, where she's kind of getting a little scared, which I get. There's an assault going on and everything, but she's kind of like, well, look, let's just throw this guy out there, right? And it's like, okay, so I see now all of us see where you're coming from, so okay,
Harm is a bitch.
Right?
Well, yeah.
But before I continue, the one other thing I'd like to say about Ethan is, once again, he's so optimistic. He's looking out the window and he laughs. He's like, it's a siege. And I'm like, you're smiling? Like he wasn't taking it light, but he was just like kind of smiling like, WTF? It's a siege. Wow, my luck. But also what I love about Wilson and Wells in the cell is eventually Ethan's like, okay, we're gonna need every man and woman on deck, okay, because this is like life or death. And like, Lee, here, you take this gun, you watch this window, and get them guys out of there because we're gonna need them, even though they're criminals. If they want to live, they got to work together. They all have to work together. And he could kind of see the big picture of this. The only way we're going to get out of this is to work together. Because that crew out there, that gang, they are smart. And as much as Julie was like, well, let's just go outside, he's like, no, I'm not going outside. They are still out there.
Right. Absolutely, man. But, they basically send a message, shall we say, to Ethan and Lee and those guys. And man, the Cholo, they marked them. And even Ethan says, we've been marked for something. And they knew it was bad news, man. But they start another barrage, a real barrage. And it was so cool because this time, because the first time they did it, they were just kind of shooting, just messing the place up. But this time, the way the movie was shot, the way that the music kind of came on, and of course the acting of Austin Stoker and those guys, you knew this was the real attack coming on, because he immediately told Lee, he's like, get them out of the cells right now. And she had a fantastic scene. I'll throw it to you, Coriander, but she had a fantastic scene where she's going to let them out. She lets Wells out first, and he runs, you know, to the you know, the area where everyone else is. And then one of the gang guys come in the hall. And what did you think of that scene, the way she played it, and obviously what happened afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, she's trying to unlock the cell for Napoleon, and the gangster dude, yeah, busts through the door, and he just shoots at her, and she just stands there. It like, I don't know if it grazed her or if it actually like went into her arm, but she really like didn't react. She just friggin' unlocked. No, she shot him and killed him. Unlocked the door, and yeah, she's a badass. This chick was like, she was
man.
really good in this movie. This lady. Yeah.
Yeah, man. She was absolutely badass. I mean, she gets nicked in the arm, and all she did was just kind of a little movement,
Yeah,
you know,
like
and it was just
nothing.
so
Yeah.
like it was nothing. And the guy comes up to her, and she hits him, kicks him in the groin, and then
Oh,
unlocks
yeah.
the cell for Napoleon. But then more people, more of the gang come in, and then of course, you know, Napoleon did his thing, and it was just cool, man. Like you could, like right in that moment, you knew what you needed to know about Lee. Plus, you also saw the other side of Napoleon, because the first thing he did was he saved her. He could have just ran, but he saved her. And then once he broke the guy's elbow, and the way he did it, reminds me of my kung fu teacher, because that's a real ass move, man. And as soon as he does that, he grabs her and is like, let's go, like in this shot right here. He's like, let's get out of here. So they go to the front where Ethan and everyone is at. And then you have that fantastic scene where he's holding the door, like the gang is starting to come in from the back. He's holding the door, and he's telling Ethan, get me a gun. They're trying to get in. I can't hold them off much longer. And you can see that split second, Ethan is thinking about it, because he knows what's going on here. Kill, I'll let you take it from there, but it's a fantastic scene. That's why I put it in the intro, because I love that scene. It's shot so well. But tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah, you know, Ethan is kind of weighing it out. He's like, okay, this guy is a criminal. He's a very dangerous criminal. Do I give him a loaded shotgun?
Right?
You know, do I give him? I mean,
God.
and that was the big boy, because he was like, all right, you know what? The barbarians are at the gate. Let me toss it to him. And as soon as that hits Wilson's hand, he does it like a 360 turnaround.
I was like,
that's my favorite scene, because there was no hesitation. He's like, look, these guys are on my heels. They're at the door. Give me the gun. Boom, got it. It's like, whoa.
Right? Oh my God, man. It was so well shot.
I'd say he knows how to use a gun. Right? I think he does.
He knows what's up. Real quick too, in the chat, Mikey is like, classic. What up, Night Watch Zone? What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey.
And we got Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast in the chat. What's going on? One of my favorite movies of all time. Such tension and atmosphere. Thanks a lot for jumping in. You guys are awesome. If you guys haven't checked out Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast, check them out. Awesome guys. Frank and Darren, awesome dudes. Steven's in the chat too, saying, what's going on? What's up, Steven? And Slaughtered Lamb saying, John Carpenter along with George Romero have never been credited enough for giving strong lead roles to both Black and female actors at a time when not many other directors were doing it. That is such a great point. And, you know, I absolutely agree. And it was so cool because all of these characters had a lot of depth. You know what I'm saying? Like they had their own little things that they were able to do. And you take a scene like this scene right here. I mean, all three of these guys, you know, they're very strong-willed, but they have their own motivations. And again, this movie is lean and it's mean, but it does enough to make you understand who these characters are in such a short amount of time. So I agree with that 100%. Credit to Carpenter, directors like him, directors like the late great George Romero. Amazing stuff, guys. That's why these movies stand the test of time. To me,
they
do. Know? But Coriander, for you, you know, we're having the big shootout, and obviously Napoleon had that great moment, but everyone else is having some good moments too. including Lee. What did you think about Lee in the hallway taking care of business?
Yeah, this, like I said, this chick,
That's
she
a
was
great shot.
badass. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if she can get grazed like that and just, have really barely any type of reaction where,
Mm-hmm.
most likely 9 out of 10, any other person would have been like freaking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
just does
Absolutely.
what she has to do because, yeah, it's you or them. You need to, and you want to survive. So if you don't kill these
Yeah.
people, you're dead. So, yeah,
Yeah.
this guy
Absolutely. No, I
stepped
mean,
up.
yeah, it was great stuff, man. And like I said, Napoleon Wilson, again,
Yeah.
I know I've already said it, but man, Darwin Johnston, he didn't play around. And I've got a couple fun facts I want to throw out too. And one of them is the fact that this role, Carpenter wrote this role specifically for Darwin Johnston because they actually were in the same apartment building. And I never
Hmm.
knew that. It was really,
Yeah.
really cool. He said that he wrote the role of Napoleon Wilson with him in mind, and also imbued the
Nice.
character with some of Jostin's personality traits. And he said that they lived in the same Hollywood Hills apartment building. They became friends and so forth. And Jostin really has a dark sense of humor. So he thought that that would make a very interesting anti-hero, which it did. It really did.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, and even after they have the first shootout, the big shootout, I should say, he's sitting there and he's just talking to Ethan like, that's you saved me twice. He says, the first
Yeah.
time out in the back by the bus, he said, I figured that was a mistake, so I let it go. But then you saved me when you let me out of the cell. And I was just like, first of all, the dialogue is just, who says that? You know what I'm saying? A badass says that. That's who says it. You know what I'm saying? But he also had tender moments. And I want to throw this at you, Kill, and then Coriander. There were so many tender moments, especially with him and Lee.
Hmm.
And a
Mhm.
lot of times it wasn't even what they said. It's just a look or a moment or something that
She
was
was good with
hinted
those
at.
looks, though.
She
Yeah.
was. She really was. Kill, what
Hmm.
did you think about some of those things? And of course, what happened afterwards.
Well, I think a lot of it also just comes with them coming to grips with the situation they're in
Right.
and how the odds are not in their favor. But
Yes.
these three, the three mains here, Lee, Wilson, and Bishop,
Mm-hmm.
they're, even though they know that their back is against the wall, they're like, look, we're going to go down fighting.
Right.
And Lee is right there with these two guys. And I
Mm-hmm.
just think the personal kind of like conversations between Bishop and Lee, or or Lee with Wilson, or Wilson with
Mm-hmm.
Bishop, they all kind of have this same type of, I respect you, you respect me, we're going to get through this, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to chicken out or betray one another, because the
Right.
only way we're going to make it through this is if we work together and truly really have each other's backs.
Right.
So that's why when you had that little interaction, where Wilson was saying, well, you saved me once and this and that, that carries weight. That
It
shows
does.
respect. That
Yes.
shows, okay, I that's his way of saying thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm gonna
Right.
pay it back to you. Believe me on that.
Right.
And
Good
it
point.
was just the relationship between these three characters and the three actors was
Mm-hmm.
just great. There was so much
Yeah.
chemistry there.
There was everybody. I
I wish
mean,
they would have
seriously.
kissed. That's the only thing that they needed to do was just kiss, and it would have been great.
Well, and I will say, and I will skip forward a little bit, but it piggybacks to what both of you guys have said. One, what you were saying, Kill, as far as um, kind of his code, Napoleon's code, and he said it to Lee at the end, and I played that right at the end of our intro when he said, "There are two things a man should never run from in his life, even if it will cost him his life," and I thought it was such a great quote that really says a lot about him. He says the first thing is a man who's helpless and can't run with you. And then of course Lee looks at him and says, what's the other? And all he does is look at her. That's
Mhm.
all he
Mhm.
does. And so you
That's when he
understand.
should have kissed her right there.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think that would have been appropriate, especially as because they had built their characters up. But at the same time, I almost kind of liked it because it was something that was there that would never happen. And she even said, um, our lack of time is the least of our worries, or something like that. And even when at the end, well, we're jumping ahead, but anyways, good point. It would have been nice if they kissed, but they didn't, and I think that was kind of a cool thing too. But we also got to remember, Julie did not make it out of that shootout,
Yeah.
and again, just some of the looks
Rightly
that
so.
that well, well, jeez.
Oh.
But
Well,
anyways,
just give them the guy. That's who they want. You know,
well,
it's
but
like,
okay, but let's
wow,
be
listen
real.
to
But
this bitch.
okay, but let's be real though. There are a lot of people that would have been thinking that Julie was basically like the average person who would lose it in a situation like that. And let's be real, a
Thinking
lot
of
of people.
themselves.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but dude, you getting shot up by 40 gang members, man. I'd be scared too. That's it.
Right? But come
I
on.
mean, I mean, to be quite honest, when you're scared like that, sometimes you do things that isn't really even in your personality, good
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
bad, either way. Lantonio's still in the chat saying, hello, how is everyone doing? What's going on? Nice to
Hey.
see you. Nice to see you. And my man, Fate's in the chat. You're the meaning of my life. You're my inspiration. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What is he like? Typing in lyrics to that damn song? Come on.
That's a Chicago song, Peter Cetera. Aiden's in the chat too. Carpenter is the freaking man and a true legend. Isn't that true?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very cool. Denisha was saying you need to watch this movie soon. What's the next movie prepared for the next live stream? We're still figuring that out. Although I guess I will throw this out real quick while we're here in the chat and you guys are paying attention. We're going to have a schedule change for Sunday. Usually on Sundays, we've been going through our Friday the 13th franchise reviews, and we won't be able to do that this Sunday. But what we will do, or at least what we're planning to do, is do a watch along, movie night watch along. And it's one of Coriander's favorite movies of all time. I'll let you tell it what it is, Coriander.
Me? Oh, come on. I wanted you to do it.
All right. It's An American Werewolf in London.
I knew it.
You knew it. That's right. That's right. RMJ's in the chat too. What's going on? How you doing? but anyways, this movie is so cool. A lot of looks, a lot of moments and so forth, but Julie doesn't make it. But they also realized they only have I think they had 8 shots between them. And they're like, man, we got to figure something out. And of course, Killian, you were talking about the whole idea. Don't go into a car. That means don't travel in the sewers. Don't go through a manhole. So they got a game plan for Wells. What'd you think about this scene, man? Because holy shit, man, the way they set this up, crazy.
For one, who's it? Tony Burton?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shouts out to him when him and Wilson are talking. He's like, I'm not lucky. I'm not lucky. Let's play potatoes. One potato, two. Yeah. He's like, let's do it again. I lost. Like, I mean, the one thing I'll say is Julie's reaction, his reaction, they're very realistic reactions. Not everyone is going to be super brave and yes, I'll go. And he reluctantly went, but he was like, I don't want to go. And I love it because they needed someone to hotwire the car. And of course, Ethan is like, well, I'm a cop. I don't know how to do that. So that leaves you two criminals. So I'll let y'all figure this out.
Right? He was even like, what about Lee? Why can't she do it?
She's like, well, I guess I can do it because I got one arm.
Yeah, and the look that she gave him when he said that was just like she was piercing through his soul.
That's one of those looks, man. She had that look 100 times in this movie, man. But
yes, she did.
Some people can imbue that, and she definitely did, man.
Yeah, but the one thing I'll say is, Wells reluctantly, he does it. He goes out there, and he gets in the car. He hotwires it, And once again, I'm like, oh man, he's gonna make it. And even before he did that, Wilson was like, hey, before you keep driving to Mexico or whatever,
Right.
can you at least call for them to send help for us? And he just kind of looks at him like, yeah, because he knows he's like, I
Yeah.
don't blame you, brother.
Right.
keep on running. But
Yep.
he's in the car, and you think, oh man, he made it. But he didn't check that back
didn't.
seat. And those
Hey.
gang members are smart.
And what did we see after that? It's so funny because obviously in Halloween, when Nancy Loomis got into that car, she didn't check the back seat either.
Check
You
the
see what I'm
back seat,
saying?
guys.
Check the back
Check
seat.
the back seat.
John Carpenter has taught us you got to check the back seat
You
every
got it.
single time. And it's also funny too, before I get to you, Coriander, here's Napoleon. He's been asking for a cigarette this whole goddamn movie from 4 people up to this point. But who's the person that gets him a cigarette? Of course, it would be Lee. And not only did she give him a cigarette, she lit it
appeared out of
with
nowhere,
one hand.
right? Yes, she did.
But I think that was so symbolic because even the look on his face, credit to him, even being a badass, the look on his face was kind of, it like was softened, kind of like, wow, you really are my dream girl.
Like, this woman is amazing. This woman is amazing.
Right? Absolutely. But it was realistic, their chemistry with each other. And of course, the cops, they've been told that there's been complaints of noise and so forth. But again, the gang is using silencers. So the only thing that you can really hear is the glass from the windows breaking and so forth. But bottom line, Coriander, they only got 8 shots left. And Napoleon says, we're going to have to go down to the basement to make our last stand and so forth. So as we start to wrap this thing up, what were you thinking about the game plan they had and how it led to the finale?
It was a smart plan. And when he was doing those first couple of shots and he was like, oh, you're a good shot, right? A confident man, And
yes.
Yeah, it was like, thank God that last shot hit. And he took out how many guys? Like 12? No, I don't know if it was 12, but it was a lot.
Whole bunch. Mm-hmm.
Right? And that pretty much saved him.
It did. It truly
and it was
did.
smart too, because when those cops stopped, right? And they were like, oh, it's raining, because they could hear dripping, and it was blood, and it was the telephone dude.
Yeah.
So,
on a pole,
right
like yeah.
If they didn't stop and get out and just kept going, again, they'd be like, look, guys, we're not seeing anything. Nothing's going on. And they would have been oblivious to it.
Yeah, man. I mean, but it was very believable because obviously with all the shooting and the violence, like Ethan kept saying, someone's going to hear this, someone's going to know. But they established early in the movie that the blocks around this precinct are condemned, the houses. So there's no one that lives around this precinct. The silencers are on. There's no one driving around there because no one needs to. The precinct has moved. It already had moved. They were just waiting for the power to go off in a couple hours. So it was believable the way they set this movie up. And it's so smart, man. It really is. Real quick before I get to you, Kill, I'm still saying, I haven't seen this yet, but Carpenter is my favorite director of all time. They Live, Mouth of Madness, The Thing. You know what's interesting? There was a time when I had never seen this movie because I just had never seen it. I didn't know of it or anything. And I was a huge Carpenter fan. This was years and years and years ago. And I stumbled upon this movie, and I'm so glad that I did because it instantaneously rose to the top of my list for not only his movies, but just movies in general. It's a wonderful movie. I think that's the most important.
Really good.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing that we can pass on to you guys, is that this movie is so damn good.
Perfect.
And it pretty much is. It's lean and mean.
Is.
But Kill, at the end, obviously, the game plan worked. They shot up that it was a tank of acetylene, which Ethan had seen earlier in the movie. And shout out to him, because again, a very intelligent lead character of color, which was very well done. Credit to Carpenter and everyone else. But as the smoke clears, and again, great scenes, great framing, great cinematography, wonderful job by John Carpenter and crew. You see the 3 of them, and they literally have this moment where they don't let go of their weapons because they've been through all this. What did you think of this scene? And obviously, kind of the goodbyes that happen. I'll throw my 2 cents in afterwards. But what did you think?
These people have been through a night of hell.
Yeah.
This to me is probably the ultimate bottleneck movie. And when I say bottleneck, a movie taking place in a one kind of area where there's, whether it's the Night of the Living Dead or this, or, could be like anything. And they're all still gripping their like empty gun or their piece of wood or the butt of their rifle for dear life, because they just went through hell. And I love the kind of the goodbyes. You have like the police officer and the ambulance guy is kind of like, hey, ma'am, I got a stretcher for you. She doesn't even acknowledge that with words. She kind of, once again, and her eyes are beautiful. The looks that she gives are just icy. And just that guy earned it. She just looks at him and just walks out there with her head high. She's like, I don't need no damn stretcher. I done been through this. I've been killed. I lost how count of how many people she's had to kill tonight.
Right.
And she just walks out there, and I came in on my own 2 feet. I'm gonna leave on my own 2 feet.
Right.
And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, finish.
Oh, and then obviously, like right here with the scene you have here, like just the looks between them say so much without having to say anything, you know.
Yeah.
And then Ethan, him and Napoleon. The other cops are ready to just throw him in cuffs and just rough him up. And he's like, no, I got this. And he says to him, it would be a pleasure, an honor to walk out with you. Yeah. And he's like, let's do it, man. Because these guys have built like kind of a brotherhood after surviving this night. And, who knows what tomorrow brings, but right there in that moment, they're brothers in arms, and you're a criminal, I'm a cop, but we're gonna walk out here as equals. And it was beautiful.
Well, okay, so Coriander, well, what did you think of that ending? Or did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
It was beautiful. I'm taking Killian's words. It was beautiful. It really was.
Right. That's what I was afraid of. I was gonna say, I wanted you to say something too. All right.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It is what it is. But here's what
you said it perfectly.
Well, no, but yeah, that's true. But what I was gonna say is this: is that I think it was cool in the movie too, because even when Lee had to leave, they have their look, and it was really, really cool, because even before that, before the game plan took shape, when they first got into the basement, and she even said, I've got 2 more shots. Should I save them for us? Now, that also says a lot about her and what she thinks of Napoleon. But of course, Napoleon is like, no, you save it for the first 2 assholes that come through that vent. So they had all these little moments like that. And then when she's walking off, it literally seemed like it was like a 20-second stare, but it was probably more like maybe 7 seconds. But it meant so much. And when she left, the camera followed her as she walked down the hall, and then she went up these stairs. And it was almost like if you were watching something on stage, right? And you see the actor kind of taking their bow. To me, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that's almost the vibe I was getting, is like she, as a character and as an actress, I'm sure for John Carpenter, that was kind of like saying, okay, have your moment in the spotlight, because that was very cool. She got to do that on her own. A female character. This is 1976, guys. So credit to everyone in front of and behind the camera. But then, of course, like you were saying, Kill, these 2 guys, I mean, look at this. Because it's funny because he says, it would be an honor to walk out side by side with you. And all that Napoleon says is, I know it would. And then, Ethan just smiles, this smile right here, a magnetic smile. And he's like, you really are fancy, Wilson. And then Napoleon says, I have my moments. I mean, seriously, guys, I know I'm geeking out, but this stuff is gold. It's gold. And he says, I have my moments. And then they do their walk, and then that music cuts on. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, I love the
Dun,
music.
dun, 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 dun. It was so cool, man. It really was. I swear to God, man, one of these days we're going to do a movie night or watch along with this movie because it's so good. It really, really is. Dan saying top 10 bottleneck movies. Good idea, Killian. Right?
I have my
Right?
moments.
Yeah. Denisha asking where
Ah.
can she see this movie? I think it's streaming. I know that it's available on Vudu. It might be on Tubi. I'm not sure, but it's definitely available physically too. But yeah, let me know. I mean, because you're usually in our chats, Denisha. Let me know if you can't find it, because I can look into it more deeply for you.
One thing I would also say is just be careful because they did remake this movie.
Yes.
It's not that the remake is bad because I actually like the remake. It's Ethan
Yeah.
Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne, but it's a little different. So if you're doing your search, that one unfortunately may come up first because that came out like in, I think 2001, something like that.
Yeah, this one was what, 76?
Yeah,
This was
it's not
1976.
Yeah, the remake is not bad. It's different. It's very different, but it's not bad. But this is better.
Right.
So just be careful.
Yep. I'm still saying, I know. I just saw The Fog for the first time recently. So good, right? Oh man, The Fog is another one. It's so good. And then asking, and we were just talking about this. Does Assault have a classic Carpenter score? It sure does, man.
Yes.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. There were moments in this film where and this happens with a lot of his movies, but the score, the music is a character in and of itself. And you know what else I liked about the music? That slow theme, like when they first saw Julie was dead, that doom 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 doom. You know, I'm not doing it any justice. You guys got to watch the movie, but it's that you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That slower thing.
Yeah.
Doom, doom, doom. I love it, man. It's whew, man. I'm telling you. Steven's saying I gotta watch this one. I barely remember the remake. Same thing here.
You do. Yeah.
Ginger Ninja saying The Fog also had a remake, but we don't talk about that remake. We don't. We definitely
we don't talk about that.
We never do. And you're welcome, Denisha. And like I said, let me know if you can't find it, and I'll definitely try to help you out if I can. But anyways, guys, we could go on and on and on. You know how we get when we go down these rabbit holes. But this movie is just amazing. If you have not seen it, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch it.
Buy it.
It's definitely worth buying. You can get it on Vudu streaming. It's totally worth it. I'm pretty sure it's either on Tubi or Shudder or something. It's got to be out there, but it is so good. One of my favorite films. It really is. When we decided to do this, and these guys know, I was just hyped up. It's like, yeah, we're going to talk about Assault on Precinct 13. Such a great movie. Credit to all the actors and actresses, the fantastic cast, Laurie Zimmer, Darwin Johnston, and and the sad. I will say this as we end it out here. I think one of the saddest things about this movie, and it's not. I mean, it is what it is, but these actors and actresses, it's not like they had super popular, high profile careers, and like I said, Darwin Johnston, he passed away. I think it was in 98, if I'm not mistaken. So, but again, all three of these leads were just amazing. And shout out to them for making such a great film with the legendary John Carpenter. So anyways, for you guys in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoy this. We've been talking about movies that it's probably not a lot of people that are going to be on YouTube looking for a discussion on Assault on Precinct 13, even though it's a great Carpenter film, but it's not like a high profile film, like The Thing or Halloween or whatever. But we really enjoy talking about these types of movies like this, Race with the Devil, The Car, and we've been on a roll. We got some good ideas coming up for next week as well. But again, these are movies that are a little bit more, more niche. So as always, you guys kind of dictate this. If you guys enjoy these types of discussions for movies that not a lot of channels may be talking about all the time, let us know. Let us know in the comment section, what you think of this movie. What do you think of us doing these types of movies like this and The Car and Race with the Devil? Let us know if it's something that you're enjoying, because if you are, we want to keep doing it. But obviously, if people aren't enjoying it,
if you don't, we'll still keep doing it, right? Because these are great movies. So.
Well, these are great movies. But I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, we also want to make sure that the folks are going to be enjoying it as well. You know, that's the other thing about it too. So let us know in the comment section. That would help us out. But also, please give the video a like. That would really help out the channel and support us. And if you guys don't know, and some of these folks in the chat have been very gracious and supportive of the channel, becoming part of our Patreon, Dan and Neil and Jason, and we also have channel memberships available. Please check those out, guys. It really helps to support the channel. It really helps to fuel us, and we've got a lot of things that we want to do that won't be available as widely on YouTube. We want to do more exclusive stuff and put time into those types of things too. So please check that out as we head on out. And I'm still saying we enjoy these streams very much. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
We appreciate that very much. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, and I guess it is on Showtime, Vudu, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. Thank you so much for checking that out. Still, we really appreciate it. And Ginger Ninja saying classics that don't get the love they deserve is something I'm always down for. That's how I look at it too, man. These are movies. I mean, I enjoy talking about popular things. You know, if it's something I enjoy, but I really dig talking about movies that a lot of people may not know a lot about, or maybe they haven't watched in a long time. That really gets me going. As you can tell, I've just enjoyed this stream so much. So, anyways, we will be catching you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Shit.